So I'm training for the Marathon Des Sables. 6 marathons, 6 days across the Sahara Desert. It's self-sufficient, so you have to carry all your own gear. So you've probably got a pack of about 25 pounds, like minimum 50 degrees, up to high 50s, maybe even 60. It's pretty much hell on earth for a week, I think. My name's Scott MacDonald. I'm a peak performance coach, so I work with people to optimize their mindset and their body.
And what kind of people have you worked with in the past?
I originally started with a niche of like high performance, so it started out with athletes, high performing execs, that kind of world. But I've moved more recently into it's about people who just want more from life, right? You don't have to be necessarily there in terms of that peak performance, but you want that. You want more. You want more in terms of what your body can do, what your mind can do. You want more for your family. You want more for your work. It's just that desire to want more.
Working with people that are trying to get to that level as opposed to already there.
Yeah.
Cool. So how does sport fit into this then? What is your sporting background?
I loved sport growing up. I don't think I was very good at any of them in particular, but I never stopped wanting to play, and I've never really that desire to be involved in any sport. I think most kids growing up, whether it's football, whether it's rugby, whether it's whatever it would be, there was always that dream there. I had some back problems in my 20s. I just didn't play as much sport then. But in my 30s, as I started to have kids and thought, I need to stay active here because I need the energy for them and I don't want to turn into that slob, if you like. I got back into it in my kind of early to mid 30s, hired a coach, and the rest is kind of history, right? Then I was just like, as soon as I could see what my body could still do, I was just massively excited, right? I think there's a perception that you get to your 30s and then your body kind of gives way and that's the end of it. But what I found was what I'm doing in my 30s and now 40s, I don't think I did any of that in my teens or my 20s, certainly not at this level. So it's massively exciting to know that what you thought was going away from you in your 20s and 30s is actually, for me, feels like it's just starting, and I'm in my 40s now.
Yeah, it's a pretty incredible journey to come through. So how did kind of running, so you said you wanted to get back active, kind of increase your energy levels, so why running?
It's a good question. Why running? I think with running, the beauty in running is I can do lots of things at the same time as running. People assume, all right, you're out for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. How do you've just lost that chunk of time from your work? And I'm like, no. The first hour is just problem solving. It's like processing what's happened through the day or what's going to be happening tomorrow or later on. And then maybe the second hour will be me just letting go, right? Maybe some people do that watching Netflix and sitting down and watching the TV. But for me, I'm like, that's when I just let go of everything. In the third hour or the fourth hour, then it's just about strengthening my mind because that's where the challenge kind of starts to kick in. And that then feels to me like I'm making progress, like I'm doing something difficult, but like lifting a weight. So I know on the other side of this that I'm going to be stronger, fitter, better. And I don't think you get that same freedom in things like cycling, where I've spent a lot of time cycling, doing Ironman stuff, but you have to concentrate when you're cycling, right? There's cars flying around, there's lots of stuff going on around you. In the gym, I love the gym, but I don't get the same freedom of mind because you're thinking about the rep, you're thinking about your form, you're thinking about who's going on around you. Whereas running is just this total freedom.
Yeah, chasing that runner's high.
Yeah. Oh man, that's like all I do. It's just chase that. I talk a lot about it with clients, like flow state, right? It's just that freedom where nothing else seems to matter, and your brain is in this hyper fast state of solving things and making things happen, but it's also really slow and able to process things that feel like they're coming at you fast. It just seems to slow it down and solve it. So yeah, I probably spent most of it chasing that.
And so how have you ended up doing kind of the longer distance side? What kind of changed your kind of perspective to go from maybe 5Ks, 10Ks, all the way up to ultramarathons?
I think it's just natural progression, right? 5K felt like a marathon at the start, and then you realize you can do that, and then 10K, I felt like I progressed quite quickly from the 5K through to sort of 25K. I think people will be surprised at how easy that can be if they do it right. It's very easy. People think they've got to run at 100 miles an hour, right? Which is why they can never get any distance. When you slow things down and you know what you're doing and you're watching your heart rate, the lengths that you can run to is surprisingly far. So I think just it was a natural progression. My coach at the time was getting into Ironman, and that was quite inspiring for me because that felt like a million miles away. I couldn't even dream of doing that sort of thing. That was for elite athletes. And again, it's the value in having a coach, right? Somebody that can say, no, you could do it. Here's how you do it. And it just progressed kind of quite quickly from there, I think.
So can you explain to anybody who doesn't know, what is the event that you're currently training for and what does that entail?
So I'm training for the Marathon Des Sables, which is 6 marathons, 6 days across the Sahara Desert. It's self-sufficient, so you have to carry all your own gear. So you've probably got a pack of about 25 pounds. You carry all your own foods. It's pretty much hell on earth for a week, I think.
So I think the next logical question then is why?
Yeah, I've spent a few nights or a few long runs thinking why. For me, it's actually less about the physical battle and more about the mental battle. Every time I do something that I didn't think was possible, the self-belief, the confidence, all of that stuff just like bursts and you reach this whole new level. When you can let go of the fear of, God, what happens if I fail? And think more just about, but what happens if I was able to do that, right? Imagine the confidence, the belief, the knowledge that I could do that. Like, what is that going to do for not just me, right? It's for role modeling to my kids, to what my wife then can believe, what my friends will believe. Yeah, it's just about the mental battle. So the excitement of just makes me want to do it and see, because I've got no idea. So we're going to find out in a few weeks.
I suppose if you could do 6 marathons in 6 days across the Sahara Desert, there's not much else that you probably can't do. So that makes sense. What does training for an event like this look like? What is your current kind of weekly training schedule?
So I run 5 times a week. At the moment, we are 9 weeks away from the race. So I do a marathon every week, or maybe a little bit more than a marathon, 45, 46K. I do somewhere between 25 and 30K run, a 15K run, and another 15K run. I think that's 4. And then the 5th one would be more sprint work. So interval training, heart rate peaking and lowering. And then just a whole lot of stretching and recovery work to try and let your body recover from that. And
what are you currently finding the most challenging part of your training regime?
The stretching and recovery, right? Like I know scientifically how important that is. And I know for my own self, I feel so much better when I do it. But it's boring, right? And it's mundane and it's difficult to get up for, right? A run is exciting. You know you're going to get your runner's high. You know you're going to be pushing your body, and you'll get the freedom in your mind. But lying down and stretching your back and your hamstrings and your calves, it's just not that fun. So I find that really challenging.
So how does Oriam Clinic specifically come into helping you with that recovery side of your training?
Like, that's huge, right? because the first thing is just a world-class facility, right? You've got something that is, well, there's really not something like this in Scotland, I don't think. So to have that available to you means that you, A, can recover at the highest possible level, whether that's working in the hydrotherapy pool, whether that's working with the physios, the massage therapists, whatever that is, you know that you're working with people that are the best in the field at what they do. And it also locks the time in. So if I say, right, I'm coming at 10 or I'm coming at 3 or 8, whenever that is, I know that I'm going to do it and I'm going to get my recovery done. And it's not like me thinking, oh yeah, at 8 o'clock tonight when I'm tired, I promised myself that I'll go and do some stretching. So yeah, just have that facility and the people is amazing. And then also to have, it's an environment, right? I talk about this a lot with clients. Put yourself in an environment that makes you better. So you're going to be around, well, the Scottish rugby team are here today, you've got other elite athletes here. Just being around that environment makes you raise your game. You can pick their brains, you can understand a little bit more about what somebody else is doing and how you can bring that into your game. And all of that stuff just means I'll be a better athlete at the end of it.
Could you go into a bit more detail as to kind of what a session at Oriam looks like? So you're in Oriam today, you've come, what was your session today going to look like?
So I'll spend about 45 minutes to an hour in the hydrotherapy pool. We'll do a lot of stretching, we'll do some basic just floating, just trying to let the muscles relax and let go in the heat. Then we'll do some running and there's an underwater treadmill. That really helps me because it means I can keep the cardio exercise going, but I've not got the impact on my joints and my hips and my knees and my feet. But it keeps that blood flow going, so that really helps me massively. I'll then spend 10 to 15 minutes between the ice baths and the heat baths. So we'll do, I think it's 2 minutes in the cold in the ice bath, a minute in the heat bath, and then we'll rotate that back. Then we'll do some sauna work, and then we'll do about an hour to maybe an hour and a half of massage work, mainly lower body. Obviously the legs are the ones that get worked the most, but one of the areas I'm struggling with is my upper body and shoulders, just with having to carry the weight of the backpack and things on my shoulders. So yeah, there's so much to do.
So you mentioned recovery can be a bit of one of those boring tasks that you have to do. At the moment, kind of with your recovery protocol at Oriam, what's your favourite part? What's the least favourite part of your recovery protocol?
I mean, the hydrotherapy pool is just nice, right? It's just warm, it's cozy. You've got to love that. And doing the stretch work in there is really, really nice. Weirdly, I do enjoy ice baths and the heat bath. I think I particularly like the ice baths because you've then got the heat bath right next to you. I've got ice baths at home. I don't have that instant warm bath next to me, right? I'm outside. So having that freezing ice bath, but knowing you can get straight into that heat bath. And there's a big difference between just doing ice work and then doing ice work and heat work. That makes a massive difference. So weirdly, I'd say as much as the hydrotherapy pool's lovely and cozy and nice, the ice bath work, I think that makes the biggest difference to how I actually feel.
What's the less good part, we'll call it? Any parts that you still struggle with just getting through?
I think the stretch work, I just struggle with mentally. It feels good at the time, but there's still something going on in my head that says you can spend 45 minutes stretching or you can spend 45 minutes running, right? What's going to help you go faster? Now, scientifically, I know stretching is probably going to make me run faster in the end, but I'd rather just be running and chasing the runner's high.
I think most people are in the same boat on that one. So coming back to the event that you were training for, obviously there's a lot of external factors to deal with. You got the heat, the wind, the carrying of your own equipment. What do you foresee as being the greatest challenge coming externally?
I think the heat's going to be massive. You're talking like minimum 50 degrees up to high 50s, maybe even 60. I've never been in heat like that. That doesn't sound good to a white, pasty Scottish guy. I think the other thing I'll probably struggle with is sleep, right? Normally after a marathon or something, I don't sleep that well, or your body's trying so hard to recover. And that's when I'm in my nice bed. Here, you're essentially sleeping rough, right? You're just in a sleeping bag on the floor, on the sand. So there's a bit of tarpaulin that sits above you. It's not a tent, it's just 4 poles with a bit of tarpaulin, more to keep the shade out in the daytime. So the lack of sleep is going to be really difficult. Maybe even more concerned about the lack of sleep than I am about the heat. I think I can adapt better to heat than lack of sleep. Yeah, and I hate snakes. There's a lot of rattlesnakes, so I'm a little bit nervous about that.
I suppose that's something you probably don't think about when you're training, is it?
That's
a hard one to work into your training, isn't it?
That's exactly it. There's not many of them kicking about around the reservoir.
Yeah. How do you plan on kind of training for that sleep deprivation aspect?
I'm not going to deprive myself of sleep. The temptation is there, right? Deprive yourself of sleep. Wrap yourself in 50 layers so that you're running and sweating loads. I don't think the lack of sleep is going to help me in the long term, right? It's just going to slow my recovery, probably increase my chance of getting an injury. I just need to get through that. There's other things you can do for the other stuff, right? So I'll go to the heat chambers to trial that heat. Most of them don't go that hot, but at least it gives me the experience of being hotter instead of the 3 or 4 degrees that I've got used to running in just now. This is almost the whole point in doing the event, right? Some of the stuff you can't prepare for. It's just like life. You can't prepare for so many things, but you'll be amazed at what you can actually do when you're in that place and you just have to get through it. I'm excited in a weird way to have that lack of sleep, to have that pain, to have that struggle, and see what my mind manages to get me to do. Because then, well, who knows what's possible.
We'd like you to give some advice for somebody, like you mentioned at the start, that's maybe looking to do their first 5K, their first 10K, their first marathon, kind of get to that milestone distance. What advice would you give to somebody who's starting out on that journey?
It's probably slow down. I see so many runners and hear so many runners trying to run further, but they're trying to run too fast. There's a great saying, slow down to speed up. That's so true in the world of running. Slow it down and ultimately you will go faster. And pay attention to your heart rate, not so much your pace. I think people get excited about, oh, how's my pace doing? I'm better, I'm going faster. But in actual fact, you're soon going to max out if you're working on your pace. Work on your heart rate, do a little bit of research or talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about with heart rate training, and you'll be amazed at how much further you go in a much shorter period of time.
And lastly then, if anybody wants to find out some more information about yourself or get in contact with you, what's the best way to go about that?
Sure. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Scott Mac Coaching. Feel free to check me out on there.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.